Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's not your average Josh back here for another movie review, and today I am here to review the new movie Dungeons and Dragons that comes out on March 31st. I was able to go to an early screening after my little mix-up fiasco that I had. But before I get into my review, hit that like button, leave a comment as well. It's very much appreciated. If this is your first time watching any of my videos, hit that subscribe button. You can follow me on TikTok. You can add me on Snapchat, where I will post content similar to this. But for the most part, my content will be here on this YouTube channel, Not Your Average Josh. So again, I appreciate all the support, but let's get into this review of Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves is directed by John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein, both respectively. I did not know John Francis Daly by name, but I know him from the movie Waiting. I love the movie Waiting. I know he was also in Freaks and Geeks as well. One of the things where he really got his start as an actor. But Waiting, I just really love that movie, honestly. I know it's a smaller movie, not many people know about it, but I mean, the cast honestly is stacked for a movie like that. It's just a very small movie in the day in life of a restaurant, and just a simple comedy movie that came out in the mid-2000s. Ryan Reynolds, Justin Long, Anna Faris, Dane Cook makes an appearance. There's also a few other people that I know, I recognize, but I don't know them by their name. Just a really great cast, and then you also had John Francis Daly in here. Pretty much has no lines throughout the whole movie until the very end. It's a very nice comedic moment. I've always really loved that movie, and I think it definitely deserves a little more respect than it gets. Not as familiar with Jonathan Goldstein, but Goldstein and Daly have worked together over the years. They did write the script for Horrible Bosses. This movie was written by Goldstein and Daly, along with Michael Gillio and Chris McKay. Chris McKay, of course, if you know, either directing or producing credits on The Tomorrow War, the Lego Movie, and the Lego Batman movie. In this movie, you have a charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers that embark on an epic quest to retrieve a lost relic, but things go dangerously awry when they run afoul of the wrong people. I am not a Dungeons and Dragons fan, as in I've never played the game at all before. I have seen it in various pop culture, movies, television shows over the years, especially Stranger Things being one that I think it's utilized very well in that. With this cast, I think that was assembled very well, where you have Chris Pine being the main character, Edgin being really the most notable actor in this movie, which I think really was the best thing for this movie. If you have too many known actors where it becomes like all of a sudden this A-list type movie, I think the expectations would be a little too high. I think this movie had perfect expectations coming into it. Of course, you had the Dungeons and Dragons movie that I've never seen before with Jeremy Irons in it way back years ago. Once the trailers first came out for this movie, I thought they were really well done. The special effects, even just in the first look in the trailer, of course, just a trailer, but they looked really impressive. And again, just having Chris Pine lead this cast, and then having other known actors in this movie, especially a part of the main core group of people that you're following here, was just a nice lane to go down for this movie. And I thought Chris Pine did a damn good job in this movie. Really, everyone overall acted very well. Pine's character, Edgin, has a real internal struggle that I wasn't expecting in this movie. His character is very gray. He starts out, he actually helps catch thieves and people that are doing wrong things, but then his character, because of a certain thing that happens to him, he ends up becoming a small-time criminal. It really makes that switch up fairly fast. They really tell you this in a flashback, so it doesn't feel too rushed or anything, but they give you that information right off the bat. So he's already had a character change in his life. And then once you get to the end of this movie, his character also has other changes that happen due to events that take place, and just this internal struggle that he's dealing with throughout this movie. I thought it was very well done. You have Michelle Rodriguez, of course, in this movie, most notably known at this point for the Fast and Furious franchise. She, I thought, was a great casting for her character specifically. She doesn't have a lot of lines, but she really, like everyone else in this movie, gets into her role and is great at playing this badass woman character that doesn't feel forced or anything. It feels very natural. She feels like she is not just playing the part, but really is this character. And she has some great moments. There's a cameo in this movie that she is sort of involved in that I was not expecting. That was quite delightful, I will say. Regé-Jean Page played Zinc, and I've only seen him before in The Gray Man. I know he was also in Bridgerton, where I think he's most known it seems. I thought he was good in The Gray Man. He didn't have that big of a role. I was definitely more impressed with him in this movie. Sort of like The Gray Man, he doesn't have a lot to do in this movie either, but the moments he has were very well utilized. I thought he did a really good job in this. His character coming along to help our main protagonist that we're following. You also had Justice Smith in here as Simon. Of course, he is known for being in the newer Jurassic World films, but also in Pokemon Detective Pikachu. This is also, for him, the most impressed I am. I thought his character was utilized very well in the writing and the powers that he has. Sophia Lillis as Doric was in this. Of course, she is really best known for the It films that she's in. I thought she was really good in the It films, and she is just as good in this. Her character is a shapeshifter. That's all I'll really say. I don't want to get into too much of the specifics yet because it hasn't been officially released yet. Her character, she can pretty much shapeshift into anything, and just what they do with that. There's a extended scene where they really utilize her power in this that I really enjoyed. How they shot this sequence was very interesting and just cool to watch. We also have Hugh Grant in here as Forge. He plays a bit of a rocky character, I will say. He switches sides pretty quickly in this movie. I thought he had a lot of fun with his character. Very eccentric. He was just in Operation Fortune, Rouge de Guerre, Guy Ritchie movie, and I thought he was pretty eccentric in that as well, just playing a different type of character. Has a lot more of a nefarious side to his character, a little more of a, dare I say, evil in his character, potentially. You also had Chloe Coleman in this movie, who has been getting a lot of work that I've seen or known about recently. She's a very young actress. She was in the movie 65 recently with Adam Driver playing his daughter in that movie. Not much screen time in that movie. She was also in the movie My Spy, which I never saw, the movie with Dave Bautista. And she's also credited for being in Avatar: The Way of Water. I didn't remember the name at all, but the cast is so extensive with that movie, and it's been months now since I've seen it, so I honestly don't remember which character she is. And of course, with the CGI and special effects, it's hard to even sometimes know which character is which besides our very main characters in that. I thought in this movie, she has definitely a lot more to do than in 65. She is the daughter of Chris Pine in this, his character Edgin. She plays Kira. She's the MacGuffin in a lot of ways in this movie. Edgin and his crew are really trying to get her back for a lot of this movie. She's at a certain place where he needs to get her, and so she is playing damsel in distress in a lot of ways, but she plays it very well. And then just to round out really your main cast here, you have Daisy Head, who plays Sophina. And just seeing her image on IMDb, she looks so different than the character in this. I mean, I recognize her, but it took me a minute. I didn't know quite who she was when I first saw her, and I was like, oh yeah, she's playing Sophina in this movie, and she's really the main antagonist. Plays sort of a general villain in the end, I suppose, but it was very effective. The look she had, her powers, her magical powers. She plays a witch of sort, I believe. I know it's probably more of a specific name than that. I don't remember exactly what they were calling her. She's a part of this clan of people that are evil and do nefarious things, and there really isn't too much of an explanation into why they are this way, at least that not that I got. Maybe if someone can leave in the comment if you're watching this, if you got something different from that, if there's more of an explanation, but it really just seems like she's just evil to be evil. One of those characters in this movie, which I think works very well for this. This is very much an escapism type of movie, just fun, fantasy, action, and they finally did it. They finally made a good Dungeons & Dragons movie. Despite the movie being an escapism feel to it, there is a level of heart with this. As I mentioned earlier with Chris Pine's character, Edgin, he has a conflict. There's a time where he lost with his daughter at a certain point in this movie, and he has to deal with the guilt of that. He also lost another person from his past that he's been dealing with a good portion of his life before the movie even starts. So you really have this internal struggle throughout. But Edgin and Holga's relationship in this movie I thought was really nice. They have a special connection with his daughter. I thought that bond was really nice to see. And a lot of the other characters that are involved in this crew, the main crew being Edgin, Holga, Doric, and Simon. Those being the main crew, you have Zink and Hugh Grant's character Forge come in their group in various moments throughout, but really that is the main core here. And the other characters, they don't have as much of an emotional arc or anything like that, but they do have moments throughout that I thought paid off in little ways, just more of a little, I guess, smaller character arcs for them. I thought the powers were just utilized very well in this. They really go headfirst into that magical side with this, and I thought the effects were very seamless in this. One thing I was sort of thinking about right after I got out of this movie was after watching John Wick 4 a few days before this, that movie you can't help but just notice the incredible cinematography and the filmmaking. You're just constantly thinking about it because it's just so great and on display for you. Whereas in this movie, I think it's just so seamless. You're not thinking about it throughout. I just thought to myself really a couple times in this movie that, man, they're really doing a good job of meshing the CGI with whatever practical effects they're using. And they shot some of this also in Ireland on location. It felt like it was a real world. I was very immersed into it. And then the action adventure side, the action scenes were done very well also. There is some hand-to-hand combat with a sword. The story does feel generic overall. Leaving the theater, I wasn't thinking about the story and how, oh my God, it was so great and how emotional it was. There are some good emotional moments that I didn't expect in this, but overall it is a very generic story. There's really nothing personal with the villain here. There's a smaller personal struggle that does have some payoff in this, but the main villain we're following, of course, with Sofina, there really is no deep explanation to why she's doing what she's doing and why they need to stop her. And the humor throughout this movie, it was hit or miss. It worked well enough. It's not one of those movies that has the humor in it where you're going to be laughing out loud that much. There was a couple times where I laughed out loud, but it's really just that classic action movie humor that it works for the scene, but I was never just completely laughing hysterically or anything. It's more of just serviceable humor that takes some of the edge off the serious nature of certain scenes. They really did a good job of creating this Dungeons and Dragons world. I'd be happy to go back to it at this point and continue to follow certain characters. I thought it was very well executed, this story and the idea. Maybe one thing, the only thing I could say for the next movie, if they made another one, is let's get a villain that feels a little more personal. Make it to where you don't have to add in a personal struggle in addition to the villain you already have. I think that's where they could have done a better job at that. Some of the creature designs as well. They have this, not going to spoil anything, but a fat dragon in this. I'd never seen a design for a dragon like this where somehow he was menacing, but also goofy at the same time. That was definitely a moment where you could hear laughter percolating throughout the movie, throughout this scene with this fat dragon, again, somehow menacing but also goofy. I did enjoy this movie very much. I would give it a recommendation when it comes out. If this is your type of jam, fantasy, action, adventure, of course, I think it's needless to say, if you're a Dungeons and Dragons fan, go out and see this. I'd say opening weekend if you don't have any plans. If you haven't seen John Wick 4 yet, if you're not trying to go out and see John Wick 4, I would go out and see this movie opening weekend. I think it's a blast. You're going to have a lot of fun. It can work as a movie that's just for escapism if you just want to go eat some popcorn, have some fun. But also, if you are looking for those deeper moments, you can find them in this. They're just a little more subtle. I'm going to give Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves a 8.5 out of 10. This is going to be, I think, a really good, potentially great year for film. Of course, not saying that every movie is going to be good or great. You just hope that every movie can be good, but of course that is not realistic. There is promise for a lot of movies this year. So many movies that were supposed to play last year were pushed to this year, and so you got a lot of bunched up weekends. I was looking at April 21st, I believe. That weekend, April 20th, 21st, is stacked with just all kinds of movies that are already getting really good reviews. April's going to be a very big surprise because people were hyping up March so much, including me, because March just had every week you had a movie that could be really good or great. But what do you guys think? I know I'm putting this out early before it actually has a wide release, but I know they've done several early screenings for this movie. So have you seen this movie? Did you like it? Did you not like it? If you haven't seen it, are you looking forward to it? Do you not care? Are you into Dungeons and Dragons? Whatever you think, leave a comment. That's very much appreciated. Also, hit that like button. If this is your first time watching any of my videos, hit that subscribe button as well. You can follow me on TikTok and you can add me on Snapchat where I will post content similar to this. But for the most part, my content will be on this YouTube channel, Not Your Average Josh. So again, I appreciate all the support. Be looking for more videos very soon and I will talk to you guys later.